Hey, how you doing? This is Kitch, and you are watching me play Factorio in creative mode. I've been going through and messing with some designs. Well, I should just say one. In the last episode, I came up with this Sushi Science design. It works fine. There was a lot of feedback on the last episode, though, and some suggestions to improve this, as well as some other designs, and we'll take a look into those. I just want to say that I am by no means an expert in Factorio, an authority. This series is... I do this from time to time, just kind of go through and play with some concepts, things that I've seen, and just try to see if I can make them work. A lot of the designs out there that I've seen for sushi stuff, it's not that I think they're bad. It's just I don't understand them, and I'm not smart enough to go in and try to figure out how stuff works. But we'll look at some of those, and also look at some of the suggestions that were made to this circuit-based design in this episode, right after we roll the intro. In doing my research for this episode, just preliminary, I didn't do a lot of studying. I just kind of glanced around to see what was out there. Sushi Science is by far the most popular sushi belt concept out there, and a lot of them are belt-based. And this is one that was posted by Cornosian in the comments. Always a very good source of some really good Factorio information. And I like it. It's purely belt based, and it doesn't back up. It doesn't get into a deadlock situation. It's pretty good. The way it works is you have all your sciences fed in right here. They go through a balancer that combines them all together here. That comes up. This is our main sushi belt. And this comes around, it goes underneath, and then curves back around and feeds back into the input, making our loop. Now there's a series of splitters here that take an input priority on the left and out, then filter on the right. So basically what this is doing is it's taking the leftovers and giving them priority to refill the science belts before they're all combined together into one. You have your red, your green, your blue, black, etc., right? That comes down, gets placed into a balancer, and we start the process again. Now, he'd noted that his yellow science is stacking up on this little loop right here, and mine is too. So whatever you did, I did. It's consistency. That's a sign of greatness. This is really nice. It scales really well, which we'll look at here in a second. This one was also submitted as a way to do it, and it works out pretty well. Whenever I was first trying it out, I failed a couple of times. They got into deadlock. Just so you're aware, I mentioned deadlock in the last episode. This gets it where your sushi belt gets backed up, and none of these guys can actually... There's no science where it's backed up that they actually need, so the whole thing comes grinding to a halt. This is not a flaw in this design. This is just a flaw in the way that Kitch decided to do that design. What had happened is, what I didn't realize at first when I was placing these down is the order that you put the science packs on the belt matters. So that one's backed up because I did a double space science. This one's backed up because I have the yellow and the purple flip-flopped. So once you get that all correct, the input's correct, it actually works out pretty well. Similar concept to Cornosian's, just a little bit more specced out, a little bit more spread out, and it uses this like little internal buffer thing. There's a mod that is in the progress right now that'll do the belt pass. That'd be really helpful to explain that. But your science comes in through here, it goes through this contraption, and we get out here onto the main sushi belt that comes around. And the main flow of the belt, if you want to call that, I guess, would go on the outside here. And this little contraption right here filters off all of the sciences. The red gets grabbed here, green gets grabbed here. And an important concept in this design is everything needs to stay on the same side of the belt. So red always needs to be on the inside, green always needs to be on the outside, etc., etc. But that gets pulled into here, into this priority splitter that has an input priority on the left here. So it's always going to grab the leftovers first and push those through before it grabs anything off of the main line, which is coming in right here. Now the main flow of this comes through and comes down and spits out here. This is the output line right here. And then you have this series of splitters here that are designed to split and split the output in order to make this loop that can always constantly flow. And that's the thing with the sushi belt, is you want stuff to always constantly be flowing. And by keeping them on the separate side of the belts, you always get an even distribution that comes through here so that your outputs never get blocked up with one type of science. So that comes down here, that combines with the blue and the gray here, that comes down and combines with the purple and the yellow here, and finally we get our white in here, and we're always going to get a consistent looking belt coming out here at the bottom, provided nothing goes wrong and you don't set it up wrong like Kitch did over here. A really good design, also scales really well. Over here on this side of the tracks, don't get hit by a train, I expanded this out a little bit. We should have 100 labs here, right? I believe that is the number. Yes. 100 labs going through. I updated that whole, this is the one we were just looking at. I updated it to blue, and it's keeping up just fine. All the labs are lit up, and we've got Cornosian set up down here, doing the same thing, and it is looking great. One thing I did notice with Cornosian's setup, the way that he had it out, that I built it, it had these blow-off valves here, like on the white science here, and on the main input line coming in right here. And I was like, hey, that's cheating. You can't just have a blow-off. You have to be able to do something with these sciences. But as I got to looking at it, this is actually all completely unnecessary. We only have white coming in here. There's a filter on white, so this one's never going to get used. And we're never going to have more than one belt coming through here, right? So this is our output belt. It has the potential to back up, I guess, but if it backs up, that's fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So this is technically never needed. And if you look down here in this higher throughput setup that I had, I don't have that blow-off valve there, and it's fine. Perfectly fine. Everything's running just great. And these have been running for quite a while now, without any signs of backing up or anything like that. So those are the belt-based designs. No circuit-based designs that anybody had sent off. And to tell you the truth, looking at some of the circuit designs I was looking at, a lot of them are a lot more complex than what I had, which is just based off of this counter. But there were some recommendations on some improvements to make on this particular design. One of them was to do this was just all feeding up, like in a diagonal, kind of like a priority, just to kind of split it all up. It was suggested to do a balancer here, and so I did that. This is a 7-to-1 balancer that I downloaded off the internet, so I'm sure it's going to be fine. With this particular setup I had right here, these are pulling off unevenly. They're all favoring the inside of the lane. So I figured it'd be good to go ahead and put a little bit of a balancer right here, lane balancer on the inside, in order to kind of mix it up a little bit. And that's been working out fine. In the higher throughput setup over here, it became a much bigger problem because you need to push a lot more out on the belt. I actually had to put a lane balancer up here in order to make it, without this lane balancer here, it would favor the inside and one of these lanes would completely back up all the way back, and we weren't getting maximum throughput. Lane balancing can affect throughput, but that worked out really well. I put some fish in here. I ran some fish through it first because this little area right here and this little area right here and this lane balancer are always blocked. That stuff will never get used. It's kind of like a spacer or a extra fill. So I filled that up with fish so it doesn't upset the counts. And someone had mentioned that these filters weren't necessary, that you can just do priority. That is not always true. If I come over here and look at this, you can see this one doesn't have any of those filters. You can see I do have a blue and yellow as well as white. There's a green there. Got some gray science up here stuck. And it's kind of nitpicking a little bit, but these are counted here, but they never have the potential to cut off. I could correct for that in the numbers, but I'd rather just prevent it to happen. And even though these are priority set, yeah, we're going to try to send it out there, but with the priority, it's always going to have the potential to get 2 science packs coming through at the same time. And in that situation, one of them is always going to go out to the other side. That's the way these work. So you have to filter that off in order to absolutely prevent these guys down here from ever showing up. And our science is stalled. Let's do mining productivity. I had did one line of these each, and I had them all on the same side of the belt. This lane balancer kind of makes that no longer necessary. So yeah. On the higher throughput, I had to do that a little bit just to make it go through a little bit better, but really wasn't such a much. Oh, and this one's not running. And I also did the same for this setup, just with a higher throughput setup. Is our count going to be off? Our count's going to be totally off. It'll be fine. I didn't reset the timer before I launched everything, but I'm confident that it will be okay. It's totally not going to be okay. All right, that should reset everything. Let's try that again. We're just going to go ahead and make sure that we clear out the counter. There we go. And there we go. I had to modify the balancer a bit for this. With this setup, what was happening is that we get some stuff caught over here, and it causes... there's more of these guys on the belt than there are of these guys, so it causes some backups on some of the other sides. So I redesigned that a little bit to be able to pull a little bit more evenly. I basically split out the gray science between 2 sides and then did 2 4-to-1 balancers and then brought those together. It ended up working out a lot better in the long run. So yeah, this balancer right here would cause one side to back up. This one makes it pull just a little bit more evenly. But we see with the larger setup like we had with the other ones, this one will take a while to buffer up and catch up, but it ends up working out just fine. And it's starting to clear out now down here and getting into a stable position. You guys getting your science down here? Yeah, it's starting to fill up down here. And we're all active. I believe so. Fantastic. So yeah, a little modifications, and it works in the same situation that these other two do just as well. Now, why am I spending so much time obsessed with the circuit builds? There's something that the circuit builds can do in that we have some numbers here that we can adjust and have complete control over each one of these inputs so that we can do oddly ratioed things, right? These are all 1 to 1 to 1 to 1, 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 1. Each one of these takes 1 science pack in order to go. So it always works out really well, which is, I haven't done the math on this, but I suspect that's why these belt balancers work so well for the Sushi Science. But what about other things? Can the circuit build, exact same circuit build, be used to do other things? And yes, it can, as a matter of fact. Down here, I have a green circuit setup that's set up with Sushi. For green circuits, you only need 2 things. You need the copper and the iron. It's a 1 to 1.5 ratio of copper to iron coming, or iron to copper, I should say, coming in. You need a little bit more copper than you do need iron for this to work out. And it works out fine. You can just set your ratio up here. We're doing 70 to 105. Is that 1 to 1.5? I assume it is. And it just works out fine. So now we have a Sushi setup for doing green circuits. We can take that idea, send these green circuits out, and feed it into another Sushifier, and combine it with some iron at a ratio of 110 to 30, I'm sure that's scientific as well. But that goes into a little secondary thing here where we're making inserters, as well as belt, as well as gears, based off of the sushi concept as well. And I think you can see where this is going, right? We're feeding that out into another sushi fire. Sushi fire. Yeah, I'm trademarking that. That comes down here, and we are feeding all of the components that we need in order to make both red and green science down here on this sushi belt. This was just me playing around. I had them all broken up, and then I thought, hey, can't we just combine all these together? And you kind of can. This was my first draft of that, where we have one belt coming along the outside that has everything we need to make our science. Works out pretty good. Let's continue sciencing. Let's do this one for a change. I have my intermediate products in here. They're being fed by the sushi belt, but we are also sending out those products, and they are looping back around and being fed back into the sushi fire, where they're being mixed up and being distributed just like any other sushi sort of product. So that works out well. We have a whole sushi setup for science there, but I think this could be improved a bit. And I don't like this belt coming out and coming back around, even though it's it totally works. Let's see if we can't prettify this a bit. But take this down like here. Let's cut off these guys. And go ahead and drain that out. And let's remove this silliness, because it's kind of silly. All of this can go. That's the science output. We'll probably have to end up rerunning that if what I'm thinking actually ends up working. How's this? This is fine. We'll just feed the copper and the iron. That should be our only input that we need coming in. All right, so I control the input based off of this this belt reader and stopper starter thing, and that's worked out fine. And that's what I did up here with the intermediate products as well. But I think we can also do this with inserters. So that will help make it a little less silly. Let's take out all this stuff in the middle. This power pole is connecting our north and south, I think. So we need to remember to put a red line. Let's do that. Let's do that down here. Let's connect you up to there, you up to there. And that keeps all of our negative inserter counts good. All right, and I think we should be able to just get like a belt coming down like this, and feed it like that. Let's see, we can do that with a red guy here. Oh, we're missing that. Okay, and you guys output there. We'll get our gears outputted there. Let's get a power pole in here. And I think I want to hook all these up via green wire, because our green wire is the one that's doing all the counting. And let's see, let's override the stack size. We want to set that to 1. And we want to enable that when gears are less than... let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those, but we also have these things that sometimes nab the gears. Let's do 20. And we'll just copy this all around. Now, this inserter now is adding on the green wire a quantity. So it's basically performing the exact same function as our counter here. It's just counting, and it's also limited based on the amount that we currently have in the system. So I think this will actually work out. Belt, let's do... How much belt? I don't know, maybe like 15. And we'll do the same as far as you guys. We'll do 15. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 of you guys. If we double that, 12 to have one in the thing, I think that'll work out. That'll work out fine. 12 and then 3 as a buffer. All right, so all we have to do now is hook this. We need another power pole, I guess. Hook that into the input of that counter, so you guys will count all the items that you place out. We want to put a fish filter on the right there, so we don't get the items stuck in the belt. And then I think we just need an output for science. Send it out here to a void chest. All right, now these 130, 70, I think those ratios will be the same. That doesn't need to be blue, but it is. We'll just take you up like that. Take you up like that. Make sure that this is canceled out. And then just do a once over. So we're going to have the iron and the copper coming in here, and it's going to be counted. And, oh, it's not going to be counted. See, this is why you double check. There we go. Now it'll be counted. That's going to combine here and get out on the line. That's going to feed everything, basically, even the intermediate products, which are controlled by the inserters that are going to go out onto our sushi belt. Let's do grenade damage. Mix it up a little bit. All these inserters are going to subtract. All you guys are going to subtract, and that's going to include the inserters as well as the gears and the transport belt. That will all go back. All right, I think this is right. Is this going to work? I don't know. We'll find out. All we have to do is hook those two up, and that should start it going. Actually, since those are on both sides of the belt, this lane balancer here is completely unnecessary. All right, we have some gears going out. We should have our count over here. Oh, no. Oh, no, we messed up. You need to read the hand contents. Read the hand contents. All right, that's going to set our ratio off a little bit. But we can drain it and reset it, and that'll work. Let's see, how's this looking now? Yeah, we're getting the negative numbers on the inserters because there were extra things that were thrown out there and weren't added. That's okay. Little details. But yeah, now that inserter has shut off for the transport belt because we have 15 on the line. The inserters will take a little bit longer to catch up because they had a little deficit, but they'll balance out eventually. Everybody running here? You don't have an output. There we go. That'll fix that. And all you guys are green. Our chip is blinking red every now and then. That's fine. Don't think we need the full machine in order to get the inserters out there. And that's backed up. Fantastic. All right, so that's a little bit cleaner than having this wraparound belt. But it's all sushified. All sushified. And we don't have any more materials on the belt than we actually need in order to keep this guy running. So I hope you understand. I hope that makes it clear why I've been kind of obsessed with the circuit route. I think it's a little bit more powerful and a little bit more flexible. I mean, I think you could do the same thing with the belts, and I haven't done the calculations or ran the numbers or anything, but I think you would have to have a unique belt layout for every situation that you found yourself in. And granted, I have one here, but it's just balanced. I mean, if you compare if you compare the size of something like this and the complexity of this, this could be condensed down quite a bit to some of the more belt-based balancers over here. You can see that they're just a lot more complex. And this is just to make everything even. I can't imagine what it would be to make it where it's all different ratios for the different items. Whereas the advantage you have with the circuit setup is you can just set those numbers individually for all your different inputs out there. How are you guys doing? Everybody making science? Everybody's making science. Fantastic. So that opens up the possibility of maybe making like some kind of sushi factory. Or I've seen the ones where you do the whole factory on one belt. That might be a fun thing to try as well. And I'm not sure that you can do that with belts. You might be able to. Maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, so there's some more ideas. Some things you can do with the circuit-based sushi stuff that with belts would be a little bit more difficult, I think. In the next episode, I haven't read the Friday Facts this week yet. And I know the one last week, and this is all about some of the train improvements that they're doing. And I want to look into that. I've got a setup here of trains. We've got pickups and drop-offs. And I've got some counters here. This is the Dixie Tubes mod that is basically counting the number of trains that arrive at each station. And the problem is that if you look down here at the bottom, we've got 15 trains that have visited this stop in the last couple of hours. 30, 60, 57. Okay, it's 59, but close enough. And yeah, you can see it's the pathfinding always favors the closer ones, right? So I did do a little bit of logic attached to these to go ahead and shut off this station when there's not enough to fill up a train. And it's not helping much. That's the recommended way to go about doing this. To shut off the stations whenever there's not enough input, or to shut off the drop-off stations whenever there's not enough room to come in. Now, see, I've got a guy waiting right here. Got a guy waiting right there. We have 2 open stations up here. 17 trains have visited this station. 0 of them have visited that station. So it's not as simple as just shutting off and turning on stations in order to make that work. So that's something I'm going to look at, if not in the next episode, a future one. I'm sure you've heard all the dings and dongs as we've been doing all this science stuff. And if you were curious about what this train setup was, that's what I'm testing there. So we may look at that in the next episode, or maybe the one after. I don't know. We'll just have to play it by ear and see. But thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll see you in the next episode. Have a good one.